You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, LA, and welcome back to another edition of LA40. I'm your host, Katerina Cozias, and as always, I'm here at LA Talk Radio and television on Thursday mornings. Big shout out to everyone tuning in with us on that platform, and also big shout out to everyone tuning in on Facebook, which we've been doing recently, probably the last 3-4 months. We're streaming on Facebook, so if you're joining us from that, good morning. If you're on audio, I feel bad for you because I'm sitting here with some good-looking people this morning, and we're going to get into some good stuff. So a little past the hour, here we go. I am here today with Rock Thomas and Alex Graby. Graber?
Graby.
See, I
Yes.
thought it was right. Graby.
Yes, very good.
For those of you that follow Rock, and we did have some feedback this morning, people were waiting for this episode, you will know that we are super lucky to have this gentleman in the studio right now. If you're not familiar with who these two are, well, that is why I invite you to stick with us for the entire 30 minutes, because this is going to be a pivotal conversation that we are about to get into. Mr. Rock Thomas, you are, in my opinion, a rising global phenomenon in the world of motivation, of mentorship, of success, of transformation. You have had to go through your own journey. And what is kind of interesting to me right now is you shared that story. You've had an incredible amount of success as an entrepreneur, as someone who has devoted his time and effort into personal development. You've trained with some of the greats, Tony Robbins, Jack Canfield, and you decided to get authentic about your story and share that publicly. Rock Thomas put a Goldcast video together. He was lucky enough to be invited by Goldcast to have his story shared. And that has gone on to have over 75 million views in probably a 6-month span or so. Good job on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us a little bit about what's in this video.
Well, I think we all have our personal development journey. Some people just never get on it. And mine started based on my upbringing on a farm where the circumstances forced me to become somebody that was more capable of growing than if I wasn't subjected to that difficult environment. And I had a father that was participating very actively in that also.
Participating actively in making you not shine.
Yeah, just making my life difficult.
Okay.
Right. Working long hours, not spending time with me and things like that. And by the time I was in my late 20s, I had realized I had spent most of my life working 12, 14, 16 hours a day doing one thing because that was my programming. And it wasn't making me happy, and it wasn't making me, fulfilled or rich. It was just making me more of one thing that I was programmed to do. And I started to realize that there were other options. You can change and redefine yourself.
Well, you're redefining a lot of things for a lot of people because you're also the founder of something called the I Am movement. I'm going to bump that over to Alex to share a little bit about that. Alex is here. We're going to come back to the I Am movement in just a moment. Alex is here because Alex is the girlfriend of, the supporter of, and probably now the best friend of Mr. Rock Thomas. And I wanted to bring her on the program because, like Rock was saying, we get to design our lives. This is what I genuinely believe. This is what drove me as well, that we get to script our lives. And one of the things that she, that she is offering you is you wanted an epic life. You have a book called Your Epic Life Blueprints. And one of the things that you talk about is that you can have it all. You don't have to sacrifice success for a relationship. You don't have to sacrifice money for health. So you have managed to set yourself up financially. You went from farm boy to financially free. And now you've got a beautiful lady on your shoulder, on your arm, who is here to be of value to you in whatever capacity she can be and vice versa. Yes. So I'd like you to tell us a little bit about this I Am movement and how that has changed your life.
Well, that's a very interesting question. I'll start with how we met first.
Excellent.
So I was studying Chinese medicine here in LA when I met Rock. And we were in a cafe called Earth Cafe. I was with my girlfriend, Sasha. And I was automatically captivated by his energy. I was very curious about his energy. I didn't know who he was at the time, but my girlfriend was a huge fan of his. So
Because he had that Goldcast video.
Yes.
There's that guy from that Goldcast video, right?
Yeah, she's like, oh, I know him. And I was like, oh, you do? Can we go say hi? And she's like, no, I don't know him like that. I was like, oh, that's not going to help me. Anyway, so we ended up connecting. Long story short, I guess as far as the I am movement is concerned, I think it's just about reprogramming yourself to look at yourself and how you want to create your life, right? How do you see yourself? Like, I'm not going to lie, I definitely have insecurities of my own that I'm battling. And how I see myself.
You know what I find interesting is, and we all have insecurities, but here is somebody, and again, if you're on audio, you're not seeing this, but Alex is beautiful. She's a walking model. She's glowing and blonde and pretty and lovely and her whole energy. And this is a woman saying that I have my own insecurities. So all of us do.
Yes.
The thing about the I am movement is that the words that follow I am follow you. You walk around saying I am broke. Guess what? You're probably going to be broke. You walk around saying I am brilliant. You probably will. Talk to us about how you took that I am theory back in the day and applied it to yourself.
Yeah, so I was a struggling real estate agent, and I took that statement and I said, I am the greatest real estate agent in Montreal.
That's a little bold if you were sucking at the time.
I was sucking at the time. And I went from one sale a year to 32 the next year, 45, 65, and up to 100. The average real estate agent sells 6 homes a year. And I was selling 100 homes a year. Then I bought the company, and then I took it from 94 agents to 270. And this whole time I had this mantra in my head, I am the greatest real estate agent in Montreal. And I became the most successful owner of a franchise in Montreal, the top 50 in the world, spent time with the most brilliant real estate people, Dave Liniger from Remax and Gary Keller from Keller Williams, because I kept on programming myself and believing it. Now, it sounds simplistic to do that. There's a method I teach in my book on how to do it, because you've got to feel the feeling. You can't say, I'm happy, but you're depressed. And I'm a millionaire, and you're not, because your brain's going to go bullshit. Right. So there's a process to do it. But when you understand that process, you can literally, if you're hungry enough, you can redefine who you are, what you want to do, who you want to become. You want to be healthier or wealthier or more energetic. You can create that possibility.
Right. Yeah, and it's, life is about possibilities. And one of the things that I love about this show, and when we decided we were going to create it, is the charm, the name, the title of the show. The title is LA40, and it's a play on the words Los Angeles and life after 40. Because part of what society has done is they've fed us this notion that somehow later in life we're supposed to stop giving, we're supposed to stop seeing the possibility. Right. We're supposed to somehow stop dreaming, or somehow start getting tired, or somehow start getting unfit.
Yes.
Why, right? There are immense amounts of possibilities, and it's up to us to decide what those are for ourselves. Yeah.
Well, I call it the cesspool of mediocrity. So there's this group of people that
and none of us is mediocre.
No. Right, that have an average life. And you're supposed to get the house and the picket fence and the dog and the 2 kids and
the divorce.
And the divorce.
Right, hit those milestones.
And then it bogs you down. What's really happening is that the experience that everything's happened in your past, is you're not able to reframe it in a way that you learn from it. Right. Instead, you feel bitter and resigned and cynical and pissed off, and life has happened to you, and you're miserable. And the more you bathe in that energy, the more you live that and attract that. You become a human shit magnet. Right. And that's a problem for people. They don't know how to get out of it. So I have to be honest with you, we have a pretty big age difference. Okay. Yeah. And there's a bunch of people who have told us, well, that'll never work. Right. So we have to deal, no matter where you are in your life, you have to deal with the obstacles that come and have the ability to reframe yourself and to get excited about it. I'm 56. I'm freaking excited about my life right now. Very, very excited. Today I'm excited, and I'm excited for everything coming, and everything in the past has just been a teacher.
And that's the thing, and you have to teach yourself that, I have control over my own energy stamp. Yes. And I'll tell you something, you're sitting in Earth Cafe. Yes. For those of you that are not local to Los Angeles, Earth Cafe is like the cooler, funkier version of Starbucks. It's like it's like where the
Yes.
cool people actually go. So Alex decides she's going to go study at an Earth Cafe in Los Angeles with her girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
Never been, right? Because Alex
Yep.
is actually from Arizona.
Yes.
And Rock decides, first day in LA, that he wants to work somewhere, but not really out of a Starbucks. So, hey, let me go check out this, place that looks a little bit more interesting. Walks into Earth Cafe. The thing that connected you two
Yes.
was the energy.
Yes.
I like
yes,
your
you're
energy
both
stamp
good-looking
saying.
people, right? Isn't
Energy
that
stamp.
so
You're
good?
responsible for your own energy stamp.
It's
I love that.
And it's so funny because I spoke at a conference this weekend, and I talk about communication secrets and your language and all of that. And I was saying to the crowd, I said, the energy stamp of the future. We went from having 20 minutes attention span when we first met people
Right.
to 12 to
Right.
3
Right.
to now most of us can't get through a 60-second Instagram video without
Right.
getting impatient.
Yeah.
Right.
The average American has an attention span of 8 seconds. So you know what the communication of the future is? It's not language. It's not voice tonality. It's not even body language. It is what energy is projecting out of you,
Right.
and what are you then magnetizing back in? It worked for you two.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, how do you change that? And the way you change that, in my opinion, is what I say is you got to pay the price of practice in private to perform in public like a pro. So what are you doing?
So good.
Are you doing the meditation? Are you doing your exercise? Are you reading things? Are you digesting things? Are you journaling and learning about
Tell
yourself?
me the difference between, in your opinion, visioning versus journaling. Is one better than the other?
Well, I think they can be similar. So I can jot some things down that I want to create, and then I can sit and focus. This morning I did my priming up on the deck of the hotel I'm at for 15 minutes.
With the view, right?
With the
Beautiful
view.
view.
Beautiful
Yeah.
view.
And
We
part of
can't tell you where they're staying. Security. But they're staying somewhere nice in LA.
and part of that visioning is just to imagine, what do you want to create, and just think about it. And things will float in your mind if you give yourself the space.
Right.
Alex, any space to tell us what you're thinking of creating over the next little while in your life?
That's great. I mean, I'm here. Obviously, I'm in love with Rock, and I support his mission. I just would like to see a world that works, and I would like to see people not suffer. Because I think that's a misconception of people that are attractive versus not attractive, that their world is perfect. And it's absolutely not. I have the same demons. I have the same issues. I have the same fears that everybody has. And so I've definitely suffered myself and been depressed and been, really down. And I just don't want people to experience that because it's not fun.
And I was going to say, when you experience the other side of that spectrum, you recognize that life can be lived so differently.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't
Anything
have
is
to be
possible.
hard. It doesn't have to be. Anything is possible takes me to
Yes.
say yes and figure it out later.
Yes.
I love this statement. Rock Thomas is known for sharing this sentiment and spreading this message. Say yes and figure it out later. You've got a real interesting story. Back in the day, you were rocking a boat. Can you share that with the audience so that we can really
I love
nail
that story.
down what this means and why it's important?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a way to overcome the limiting thinking of your mind, which tends to keep you safe from taking action and without verifying a million things. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody does something that's going to hurt them, but you need to get yourself into the conversations, the opportunities. So I'm working as a gopher at this movie set with Patrick Dempsey, who's the star.
You're like, what, 23, 24?
I'm 23, 24.
Okay. A little guy here,
Yeah.
bumpkin coming from Canada. I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I'm working around the background, sweeping and just picking up stuff, whatever they tell me to do. It's 10 o'clock at night, and they've got the lighting set up, and it's a scene of Patrick Dempsey losing his virginity in this boat. Now, we all know he's not in the boat. He was sleeping right now, but the boat...
The boat scene is being filmed.
We're doing the B-reel of the boat, right?
Sure.
And somebody needs to move the boat to get it to rock like he's making love.
Okay.
So the director's like, okay, and action, rock the boat. But nobody thought of that part.
Oh, no.
So there was nobody...
You got a bunch of crew sitting around
Yeah,
going, uh-oh.
exactly.
We need to rock the boat.
And it's cold. It's a Canadian night. And people are wearing jackets. The water's dark and murky. And who would want to go in there to rock the boat? So my brain is, if you do what other people aren't willing to do, somehow you're going to be rewarded the way other people don't get rewarded. So after the second or third time, the director going, well, we got to rock this. How do we figure out how to rock? I just ran with my clothes on, jumped in the water, grabbed the boat, and started going, ha, 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 how's that? And the boat, he said, perfect, and roll. And after that, I got a job as the first assistant director. I got hired on another movie, and I got introduced to a lot of people. And the moral of the story for me is that if you're willing to say yes for things that are uncomfortable or bigger than you or that seem a little scary, that aren't going to physically hurt you or morally hurt anybody, then say yes and move into it and watch your life expand and grow.
Well, yeah, because, you get in there, you rock the boat. Next thing you know, you're on the radar of the producer and he's going, where's that kid from yesterday?
Exactly.
All of a sudden, you go from being that kid in the background to where's that kid that I actually want to work with? And hence, the success starts to follow.
Yeah. And, we learn over time, sit down and be quiet. Hey, don't be a bother. So we learn to be timid a little bit and polite and cordial. But the reality is if you want to have an epic life, you've got to be seen.
Mm.
You've got to step up and be noticed.
Yes. How do you balance being noticed with notoriety? Like, how do you get your ego out of the way when you're trying to become a public persona?
When you fail as much as I do, it's very easy.
You just keep telling yourself, I am brilliant.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes.
the fact of the matter is if you look at most successful people, and I give you some statistics that are easy. Baseball
Sure.
player misses 7 out of 10 times.
Okay.
A hockey player will miss about 9 out of 10 shots. So all successful people, almost all of them, have learned how to reframe the miss into education, or they understand the numbers. So it's actually just a process to become successful means you have to be able to fail a lot.
And I want to piggyback on that because I had read an interesting study the other day, and it was talking about men versus women when they are applying for a job. Women, as little girls, are told more often than boys, you shouldn't be a disruptor. Sit there, look pretty, play
Right.
pretty, don't scream and yell. Boys can scream and yell a little bit more, they get away with it. And as we get older into the workforce, we are also told as women, if you're a little too aggressive, it may not be, may not be appreciated. So the study was interesting because going back to your stats, it said that they did this test and they posted a job description for a job, accounting job, and they gave it to 50% of the men, 50% women. The men looked through the list of qualifiers and said, do I hit 60% of these? If I hit 60%, I'm applying for the job. The women looked at the same list and said, oh, I don't hit all 100, I'm not applying for the job.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
So as women, I think part of the message is really step into allowing yourself to believe the possibility that you are just as capable as the person next to you. And in
Right.
fact, why shouldn't you get that position?
Right.
And maybe this is, when we learned to walk, we failed maybe
Right.
10,000 times. Hit the coffee table, stumbled, but we were encouraged by, our mentor, our parents, hopefully. The same thing, if you apply for that job, think about, well, you know what? I might not even qualify for it, but I'll learn what it's like to be sitting in a room when somebody goes, what are you doing here? You don't even qualify for jack. You go, yeah, but I'm ready to learn.
Right.
Yeah.
And you learn something in the process. So I frame myself as there's no winning and losing, there's winning and learning. And I like to win and I like to learn, which compels me to take action. It doesn't matter. I can walk up and talk to this person or that person or ask somebody a question or raise my hand in a room when I don't know what I'm doing, because I'm always going to win or learn.
I love that, win or learn. People are learning from you now. With the success you've had in real estate, you have 36 different streams of income right now. You're an author, you're a speaker, you are trained directly by Tony Robbins. You're one of his trainers, and you also have worked with other greats in the field. You have some masterminds that you have set up specifically to help other people learn what you know. Can you talk to us about those?
So after years of going to Tony Robbins, and I love Tony, and Tony's material is phenomenal, I would see people come back 2 years later, Katerina, and nothing had changed. And in fact,
So they go rah-rah for the weekend and then...
they go home, and then they go home to that cesspool of mediocrity, and they tell people, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, or I'm drinking green juice, no coffee anymore. And people are like, what's the matter with you? And then they're like, literally, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. You're a weirdo. Remember when I came back from the first Tony Robbins event, I changed my voicemail into, hi, my name is Rock Thomas, and I'm going to help you with anything you possibly need in your life. Just leave me a message, and I'm on it right away.
You got a damn good radio voice, by the way, right?
Yeah. And people were like,
Whoa, dude.
dude, man, like just chill out.
So funny.
And I alienated people. So you have to learn how to handle that power, if you will. But really what prompted me to start these mastermind groups is that if you don't have a place to go back on a consistent basis, literally every day, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend time with. I created mastermind groups where you are constantly inside of an organization of people that will support, encourage, and challenge you to be the best version of yourself.
And keep you accountable.
And keep you accountable. And the results we're getting, we've created 40 whole life millionaires in the last 2.5 years.
Just pause that for a moment. If you missed that, Rock has a mastermind called M1, March to a Million, where they help entrepreneurs become millionaires themselves. He has helped over 40 people reach millionaire status. Like, come on now.
Yeah, it's
and that's
pretty
just
cool,
getting
right?
going. I love it. Yes.
So and
So
the
good.
the
So
thing
good.
is, we call them whole life millionaires because we don't want them giving up their health or their relationships. So it's not like, oh yeah, work 80 hours a week, drive yourself into the grave and get divorced. No, it's about doing it through passive income vehicles, leveraging yourself, becoming more creative, becoming more efficient and effective. We're giving them all the tools they don't teach you in school that the highest level entrepreneurs are utilizing to create wealth, abundance, and mental, emotional freedom in their life.
Well, and it's that kind of freedom that we want. So, Alex, you were studying Chinese medicine. Was that a second degree for you?
That was a second degree for me, yeah.
Okay, so you've been through 12 years of public school,
Yeah.
1 undergrad, second degree.
Yes.
He just touched on something that this is where my train of thought is going. School system, right? We put kids in school,
Yes.
and we grade them on reading, writing, and arithmetic. And we say to them, hang on, 6-year-old, put the crayon down, because now we want to know if you're good at reading, writing, and arithmetic. We haven't yet assessed as a society that is not a color genius. Right? Maybe we should let that child play with that crayon, cultivate that genius, and see what we do with it.
Right.
So the beauty of the masterminds that Rock's put together, you probably have seen this.
I have.
People come in and you can help identify where their genius is and how they can use that strength. Gary Vee talks about this. I agree with him. Focus on your strengths, people. They're there for a reason.
Right. They're gifts.
They're gifts.
Right.
They are
Yeah.
gifts.
Well, we actually have a process for the gifts, right?
Yes.
To elicit what are their gifts. That there's 24 that they say are given at birth.
Okay, interesting.
And we in the 3rd or 4th week they go through a process of eliciting what are their gifts.
Okay. So
And-
kind of like a Myers-Briggs test that you guys developed for yourselves?
It's
internally?
actually one of my mentors, Minnie McDonald, that developed it. It's called
Okay.
Sacred Gifts.
Oh, interesting. I'd love to find out what mine.
Yeah.
I think communication
Yeah.
is definitely one.
No question.
As I spent 10 years behind an Excel spreadsheet in computers, that was the wrong path.
Wow.
But yes.
So there's people that have gifts of administration, example, that would be really good at that.
Yeah.
Or people that have gifts of craftsmanship, where they're really good with their
Right,
hands.
good with their hands,
Or
absolutely.
hospitality. And when you release yourself into your gift, you can be the person that has Thanksgiving at your house every year, and your sister comes over and helps you because she has maybe a gift of supportiveness or of administration, but you're the one that has the gift of hospitality, and the idea of you hosting everybody freaks you out.
Right. So you bring in that partner,
Right.
you bring in that player, you bring in
Right.
that JV, whatever it is you need
Right.
Yeah.
to get that balance.
And what happens is that people end up being less stressed and they get more fulfilled. And they wonder why, I'm knocking my head against the wall. I'm doing these Excel spreadsheets. I hate them. I can't stand them, but I can't afford to hire somebody.
Right.
And you're robbing the person who's really good at that of the gift of doing that.
Right.
So you've heard this before. I surround myself with people smarter than me. Well, I've learned to do that better and better over the years.
Right.
Because initially my ego was in the way. I wanted control. I wanted to be the
You
smartest
want to be the
person.
smartest guy, right?
And now I've learned that actually is a limiting behavior. And now I have like Chris Buna, who's
Yeah.
a wizard with technology and with administration.
Yeah.
He just handles everything. And it's such a relief for me.
Right.
Right.
And he gets to shine.
Yes, you get to
Right.
shine and he gets to shine and everyone gets happy and collectively we all
Right.
grow. If we've got miserable Mandy watching, miserable Mandy sitting in her depression, life sucks, she can't get a job, she sent out resumes, what would you say to her? What tip would you give her today as we close?
Well, the first thing is, in my book, I talk about the 10 rituals that create definite results.
Okay.
If you go on a diet, it's not something you can do for the rest of your life. You don't go on a diet.
Not during Halloween, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right? I was picking at those little, yeah.
So you want something that's sustainable. So the first thing you have to do is 30 minutes a day of personal development. Something you're going to work on yourself that's going to work toward fulfilling or augmenting your mindset.
Right.
Because otherwise you're depressed, that's a behavior and a habit that you're going to repeat tomorrow. You're not going to wake up and that's going to change. So you start on the inside and then you work your way through the 10 different rules that I have in my book, Your Epic Life Blueprint. That's what I would suggest. And Then you go into creating a vision. Then you go into discovering your gifts. And you go into what are the 6 steps to motivate yourself. And when you start to work through those things, you start to gain some momentum and feel better, and then you'll take more action.
What I love about your book, and it was called Your Epic Life Blueprint, is you have exercises in the book.
Yeah.
So not only do you give us those 10 steps, but you also give us exercises to really allow us to start to retrain our brains.
Yes,
for success.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Parting words, folks, because, we're just touching the surface here. What I love about Rock is he is, and I'm going to say it again because if you're watching, you can feel it. I can feel the energy in the room. It's not a surprise that the 3 of us were magnetized to each other as well. I'm a big believer in you attract what you're giving out. And if you're giving out positivity, if you're giving out this understanding that we actually all have the ability to be our best, and live our best life and not limit ourselves by some of our own limiting beliefs. Rock Thomas, across all his social media, your social media platforms, it's not a name like Jane Smith. You'll find him. Just Google Rock Thomas Twitter, Rock Thomas LinkedIn, Rock Thomas Instagram, Rock Thomas Facebook, Rock Thomas on LA Talk Radio. You're going to get all of that. Rock, parting words for our audience today.
Well, one of the biggest things I get from people is, they're like, I'm overwhelmed. I'm just like, there's so much going on. I can't control that. And I think that I would suggest that they change that overwhelm to, the words that follow I am, follow you. Why don't you change it to I'm in high demand.
Right now. Wait. We got to stop on these golden nuggets here. I'm overwhelmed, right? Comes with stress, comes with anxiety, comes with lack of time, comes with I am in high demand. Just empowered the heck out of me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So,
woo, baby, I'm in high demand.
Doesn't it feel good?
Absolutely.
I mean, words create your world, so you might as well start to construct it that in an empowering way. So start with that. Notice the language you have with yourself and start upgrading them voluntarily. I say to people, you create your own story. And would you talk to your children the way you talk to yourself? Internally, probably not. So I'd say to people, talk to yourself like you talk to your dog if you're a dog lover. Oh, little baby, you come here, you're so cute, you did a good job, you did a little poo-poo, you did a good butt, right? Find a way to be more gentle with yourself, still challenge yourself, but watch the words.
And I think on that, gentle with yourself, compassion comes to mind because we're not very often compassionate with ourselves.
No.
We're hard on ourselves. We're self-critical, self-judgment, and what I'm working on for self is really recognizing when I'm allowing that thought pattern to be driving, catching it, appreciating it, but then switching it into what would I rather drive with. We are out of time. We are here, and we are happy that you were here. Rock Thomas is somebody, like I mentioned, that you are going to definitely want to follow. Alex Graby.
Yes.
Did I say it right?
Yes, you
did.
Thank you.
Alex as well. Please follow them both. They are going to be doing some very, very cool things. Masterminds, you also do workshops. You also do seminars,
adventure trips.
All of it. There's so much good stuff there. If you haven't seen his Goalcast video, I'm going to leave you with that. Please go watch it. It runs about just under 8 minutes. If you type in Goalcast Rock Thomas, he has a few, superstar that he is, has a few, but specifically start with that 8-minute video. You will see why 75 million people had this thing go viral. It is continuing to gain the eyeballs because the message is so powerful. We always try to bring you powerful messages here at LA Talk Radio. I'm going to be back next week with another powerful guest. I'm not going to tell you who that is, but I do want to invite whoever's watching to San Diego, November 10th. If you're following me on Facebook, you know that I have an event coming up called Charisma, Persuasion, and Influence. We are upgrading your language. Nice. How do you work in the world to effectively communicate with people, to either have them aligned to you or have them politely move out of your way so that they don't block what you want. As you get these intangible social lubricants, charisma, persuasion, influence, communication, confidence, into your energetic stamp, you will absolutely be able to fold time. So stay tuned with us here at LA Talk Radio. Rock Thomas, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Alex,
thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. We will see you again next week. Bye.
That was awesome.
You're listening to LA40 with Katerina Cozias, only on LA Talk Radio.